Captain Lucas Grant stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant, staring at the vast emptiness of space through the main view screen. The ship hummed quietly around him, a testament to human engineering and ambition. They were 3 months into their mission to explore the Orion sector and establish diplomatic relations with any sentient species they encountered. "Captain, I'm detecting an artificial structure ahead," said Navigator Diana Clark, her eyes fixed on her console. "It appears to be a space station of some kind." Grant nodded, his interest piqued. "Any life signs?" "Yes, sir. The readings suggest a large population. Technology level seems comparable to our own, maybe slightly less advanced." "This could be our first meaningful contact in this sector," Grant said, stroking his short beard thoughtfully. "Alert the diplomatic team." Lieutenant Olivia Reeves, the communications officer, turned from her station. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It seems to be a greeting of sorts." "On screen," Grant ordered. The view screen flickered, revealing a humanoid figure with silvery blue skin and large almond-shaped eyes. The alien had no visible hair, but ridges ran along its skull in intricate patterns. "Greetings, unknown vessel. I am Administrator Zex of the Vexari Collective. You have entered our territory. Identify yourselves." Grant stepped forward. "I am Captain Lucas Grant of the United Nations Starship Defiant. We come from Earth on a mission of peaceful exploration and diplomacy." The alien's expression was difficult to read, but Grant thought he detected interest, maybe even calculation. "Humans, we have heard stories of your kind from traders. You are far from your home." The alien paused. "We welcome potential new friends. Would you care to send a delegation to our station for discussions? We have much to share." Grant exchanged glances with his first officer, Commander Peter Hayes. Hayes gave a subtle nod. "We would be honored," Grant replied. "Allow us to prepare a small delegation." After the transmission ended, the bridge crew gathered for a brief meeting. "What do we know about these Vexari?" Grant asked. Science Officer Amy Wells consulted her tablet. "Almost nothing, sir. This is our first documented encounter with their species." "I don't like it," said Chief Security Officer Sam Martinez. "They seemed too eager to get us on their station." Grant considered this. "Noted, but we can't miss this opportunity." Commander Hayes will lead the delegation. Martinez assigned 2 security personnel. "Wells, you'll go too. I want scientific observations. Keep communications open at all times." 2 hours later, the shuttle carrying Hayes and his team docked at the Vexari station. The delegation was greeted with apparent warmth and led through gleaming corridors to a large meeting chamber adorned with strange symbols. Administrator Zex and several other Vexari waited for them. "Welcome, humans," Zex said, his voice suddenly colder than during their earlier transmission. "We have many questions about your vessel and its capabilities." Hayes smiled diplomatically. "And we're eager to learn about your culture and—" "Specifically," Zex interrupted, "we wish to know about your weapon systems, shield technology, and engine specifications." The atmosphere in the room shifted. The Vexari guards moved to block the exits. "I'm afraid those details are classified," Hayes replied cautiously. "Perhaps we could discuss cultural exchange first." Zex laughed, a harsh sound. "I think you misunderstand the situation, Commander Hayes. This is not a negotiation." Back on the Defiant, alarms suddenly blared. "Captain," Reeves called out, "3 ships just decloaked around us. They're powering weapons." On the view screen, Grant watched as sleek, predatory vessels surrounded the Defiant. "Sir," Reeves continued, her voice tense, "I've lost contact with the delegation. Last transmission from Commander Hayes indicates they're being held at gunpoint." Zex's face appeared on the screen again. "Captain Grant, your ship is impressive. We want it. Surrender now, or your crew members die first, and then we will take your vessel anyway. You have 30 minutes to decide." Grant's jaw tightened as he realized the truth. These weren't diplomats. The Vexari were pirates, and his people were their hostages. Captain Grant's face remained calm despite the threats echoing through the bridge. He turned to his crew, who looked to him for leadership. "Open a channel to the Vexari," Grant ordered. Olivia Reeves nodded, her fingers dancing across her console. "Channel open, sir." "Administrator Zex," Grant said firmly, "I will not surrender my ship or my crew. However, I am willing to negotiate for the safe return of my people." Zex's laughter filled the bridge. "Negotiate? You misunderstand your position, human. You have nothing to offer that I cannot simply take." Grant ended the transmission with a gesture. "Tactical analysis," he commanded. Lieutenant Jake Wilson studied his screens. 3 vessels, Captain. Heavily armed, but their shield configuration appears outdated compared to ours. They have us surrounded in a standard triangular formation. "Sir," Sam Martinez interjected, stepping forward with a datapad. "I've been compiling intelligence since we entered this sector. The Vexari aren't diplomats or even a proper government. They're pirates who prey on trading vessels and less advanced species." Grant raised an eyebrow. "Go on." "They pose as officials, lure in unsuspecting ships, and then capture their technology. They've terrorized this region for years." Science Officer Amy Wells had managed to send some data before communications were cut. Grant reviewed it now as the crew gathered around the central display. "Look at these readings," Grant said, pointing to energy signatures. "They're holding captives on their station. Not just our people. I'm detecting at least 3 different species in what appear to be holding cells." Engineer Nathan Cole stepped forward, his eyes narrowed at the schematics. "Captain, I've analyzed their ship designs. Their power distribution systems are vulnerable here and here." He pointed to specific sections on the display. "And their communication array has minimal protection." Olivia looked up from her station. "Sir, I'm intercepting distress signals from within the station. Some in languages our translator can't fully process. But the message is clear. They're prisoners." Grant paced the bridge, thinking. Then he stopped, decision made. "They expect us to either surrender or attempt a frontal assault to rescue our people. We'll do neither." He turned to his crew. "Martinez, Cole, I need a covert insertion plan. Wilson, prepare defensive measures but make it look like we're powering down weapons as if considering their demands." "What's your plan, sir?" Martinez asked. "We're going to rescue our people, free their captives, and teach these pirates a lesson about attacking Earth vessels." Grant called Lieutenant Ryan Blackwood to the bridge. The Special Operations Officer arrived promptly. "Blackwood, I need a small team to infiltrate that station. Your objective is to locate and extract our delegation and gather intelligence on the other prisoners." Blackwood nodded. "Combat Specialist Kate Garcia, and I can lead the operation. We'll need Engineer Cole's input on bypassing their security systems." Cole smiled. "I've been working on an experimental cloaking system for our shuttles. It's not perfect, but it might get a small team close enough without detection." "The pirates are overconfident," Martinez added. "Their internal security is likely minimal. They're not expecting resistance from within." Grant studied the station schematic. "Once our team is in position, we'll create a distraction. When they focus on us, Blackwood's team makes their move." "And then?" Wilson asked. Grant's eyes hardened. "Then we show them exactly what happens when you threaten a human vessel and crew." He looked at the countdown timer showing 20 minutes remaining. "We have limited time. Let's move." The crew dispersed to their stations with new purpose. Grant returned to his chair, his mind racing through contingencies. "Captain," Olivia said quietly, "Zex is hailing us again." "Let him wait," Grant replied. "Let him think we're considering our options." The first phase of his plan was already in motion. The UNS Defiant was about to reveal its true capabilities, and the Vexari pirates were about to learn a painful lesson. Lieutenant Ryan Blackwood checked his tactical gear one final time as the small shuttle prepared to launch. Beside him, Combat Specialist Kate Garcia loaded her weapon, her movements precise and efficient. "Remember, Engineer Cole said through their comms. The cloaking system will mask you from their scanners, but it's not perfect. Stay at least 50 meters from their patrol ships and approach from their sensor blind spot. Understood, Blackwood replied. He looked at his team, Garcia, 2 security officers, and a medical technician. Our priority is locating our people. Secondary objective is gathering intel on other prisoners. Captain Grant's voice came through. You have 15 minutes until I respond to Zex. By then, I need you in position. The shuttle bay doors opened silently to the vacuum of space. The small craft slipped out, its experimental cloaking system engaged, making it nearly invisible against the backdrop of stars. Activating silent running, Garcia whispered, though there was no need for quiet in space. Old habits died hard. The shuttle glided between the pirate vessels, their crews oblivious to the humans passing right under their noses. Blackwood studied the station schematic on his wrist display, identifying their entry point, a maintenance airlock on the station's underside. Approaching docking point, Blackwood reported. No signs they've detected us. The shuttle made contact with the station with barely a bump. Magnetic clamps engage, creating a seal around the airlock. We're in position, Captain, Blackwood confirmed. Good, Grant replied. I'm opening communications with Zex now. He'll be distracted. Garcia took point as they breached the airlock, her weapon at the ready. The corridor beyond was dimly lit and empty. Martinez, we need directions, Blackwood whispered into his comm. Back on the Defiant, Security Chief Martinez studied the data from their scans. Life signs show a concentration of humans 2 levels up, Section 4. Other non-Vexari life signs are clustered in the lower levels, likely holding cells. The team moved swiftly through the corridors, avoiding the few Vexari they encountered. Most of the pirates seemed focused on the standoff with the Defiant. Security system ahead, Garcia warned, spotting motion sensors at a junction. Over comms, Cole instructed, use the electromagnetic pulse device I gave you. It'll create a 3-minute window. Garcia placed the small device on the wall and activated it. The security system lights blinked out. Move, Blackwood ordered. They reached a locked door where human life signs registered. Garcia placed a small device on the control panel, and seconds later, the door slid open. Inside, Commander Hayes and the delegation sat bound to chairs. 2 Vexari guards reached for weapons, but Blackwood and Garcia were faster. Silent stun blasts dropped the pirates before they could sound an alarm. About time, Hayes said with relief as Blackwood cut his restraints. The captain sends his regards, Blackwood replied, freeing the others. Can you move? Hayes nodded. What's the plan? Get you back to the shuttle. Then we're freeing the other prisoners. Science Officer Wells, now freed, grabbed Blackwood's arm. There are dozens of captives below, different species. The Vexari have been raiding ships for months. On the Defiant, Captain Grant was keeping Zex occupied. Your time is up, human. Zex snarled on the view screen. What is your decision? I need more time to consider, Grant replied calmly. This is not a small matter. There is nothing to consider. Surrender or die. As Zex ranted, Martinez whispered to Grant, Team has recovered our people and is proceeding to the holding cells. Grant nodded slightly, then addressed Zex again. Perhaps a compromise. Allow me to send supplies for my crew members while we continue discussions. Blackwood's team, now joined by 2 of the freed delegation members who could fight, descended to the lower levels. The holding cells came into view, transparent barriers containing aliens of various species. Some looked up with hopeless eyes that suddenly sparked with interest at the sight of armed non-Vexari. Garcia, get these cells open, Blackwood ordered. We're about to have reinforcements. Garcia worked quickly, overriding the security protocols on the cell doors. One by one, the barriers disappeared, and confused aliens stepped hesitantly into the corridor. A tall, slender being with 4 arms approached Blackwood and spoke in a melodic language. I can't understand you, Blackwood said, tapping his translator device, which wasn't programmed for this species. The alien seemed to grasp the problem and pointed to a smaller green-skinned being who stepped forward. "I am Krell of the Trazarian Merchant Guild," the green alien said in broken human language. "You? Free us?" "Why?" "We don't leave people in cages," Blackwood replied simply. "Can you tell the others we're here to help? We need to move quickly." Krell communicated with the other prisoners, and soon Blackwood had assembled a small army of former captives. Many were weak from confinement, but others appeared strong and eager for revenge. "Anyone who can fight and wants to, stay with us," Garcia told them. "The rest, follow our medical officer to the escape route." Back on the Defiant, Grant watched the timer on his display. Blackwood's team had successfully freed the prisoners and was moving toward extraction. "Captain," Olivia called from her station, "I'm picking up communications between the station and the pirate ships. They're becoming suspicious of our delay tactics." Grant nodded. It was time for the next phase. "Wilson, power up all weapons systems. Make sure they notice." On the view screen, Zex's expression changed as alerts flashed on his own displays. "What treachery is this? You power weapons while pretending to negotiate." "No treachery, Administrator," Grant replied calmly. "Just evening the odds." With perfect timing, alarms began blaring throughout the pirate station. Zex's eyes widened as one of his officers rushed to his side, whispering urgently. "The prisoners," Zex snarled. "What have you done?" Grant smiled coldly. "I believe this concludes our negotiations. Now, here are my terms. Stand down your vessels, return all stolen property, and face justice for your crimes." Zex laughed, though his confidence seemed forced. "You are still outnumbered, human. One ship against my fleet? You cannot win." "About that," Grant said, "you seem to be operating under a misunderstanding. The Defiant isn't just an exploration vessel." Grant nodded to Wilson, who pressed several controls on his console. The ship hummed as previously concealed weapon ports opened across its hull, revealing advanced armaments that had remained hidden until now. "The Defiant is a warship," Grant continued, "the most advanced vessel in Earth's fleet. We come in peace, but we are always prepared for war." On the station, Blackwood and his team were fighting their way back to the shuttle, now accompanied by several aliens who had joined their cause. The Vexari security forces were in disarray, caught between defending against the internal threat and responding to the Defiant's sudden transformation. "Captain, we're almost at extraction point," Blackwood reported. "We have about 20 former prisoners with us who chose to fight. The rest are already aboard the shuttle." "Understood," Grant replied. "Be advised, we're about to make a statement." Grant turned to Wilson. "Target the weapon systems on the nearest pirate vessel. Minimal yield, precise strike." Wilson entered the commands, and a brilliant beam of energy shot from the Defiant, surgically disabling the weapons array on one of the pirate ships without destroying the vessel. Zex stared in shock at the precision of the attack. "That was a demonstration," Grant said firmly. "The next shot won't be so gentle." "Captain," Olivia reported, "the pirate fleet is calling for reinforcements from deeper in their territory." "Jam their communications," Grant ordered, "and broadcast false retreat orders on their frequencies." Olivia's fingers flew across her console. Signals jammed. "Sending false commands now." Grant fixed his gaze on the increasingly agitated Zex. "One last chance. Surrender or face the full capabilities of this vessel." Zex's face contorted with rage as he slammed his fist down. "Vexari do not surrender. All ships attack. Destroy the human vessel." The pirate ship surged forward, weapons blazing. Energy beams lashed out toward the Defiant, but most glanced off its advanced shields. "Shields holding at 87%, Wilson reported calmly. "Return fire," Grant ordered. "Target engines and weapon systems. Avoid critical damage where possible." The Defiant responded beautifully, its weapon systems firing with pinpoint accuracy. One pirate vessel spun out of control as its engines failed. Another lost weapons capability and drifted helplessly. Navigator Clark, execute evasive pattern Delta, Grant commanded. Diana's hands moved confidently across her controls. The massive warship responded with surprising agility, rolling and pivoting to avoid the brunt of the pirates' attack. "They're coordinating for a flanking maneuver," Wilson mourned. "Let them think it's working," Grant replied. "Engineer Cole, prepare to redirect shield power on my mark." The Defiant appeared to struggle as the pirate ships moved to surround it. One particularly large vessel positioned itself directly behind. "Now," Grant ordered. Cole shifted power to the rear shields just as the largest pirate ship fired its main weapon. The energy blast dissipated harmlessly. "Reverse thrusters, full power," Grant called out. The Defiant suddenly shot backward, ramming into the surprised pirate vessel with its reinforced shields. The impact sent the pirate ship tumbling. On the station, Blackwood's team had reached the shuttle. The freed prisoners were boarding rapidly while Garcia and several alien fighters held off Vexari security forces. "We're almost clear," Blackwood reported, "but we got company." A squad of Vexari rounded the corner, weapons raised. Before they could fire, a massive four-armed alien prisoner charged forward, bowling them over with surprising strength. "Go!" The alien shouted in broken English. "We fight. You escape." Blackwood nodded gratefully. "Captain, extraction team is ready for departure. Some prisoners are staying behind to continue the fight inside the station." "Launch when ready," Grant replied. "We'll cover you." The shuttle detached from the station just as several more pirate vessels arrived, responding to emergency signals the Defiant hadn't been able to jam. 7 more ships detected, Wilson announced. "We're now outnumbered 10-1. Grant remained calm. "Science Officer Wells, do you have the tactical analysis on the new arrivals?" Wells, now back on the bridge after being rescued, studied her console. "Same weaknesses as the others, Captain. Their shield harmonics are vulnerable to our phase cannons. Shuttle is taking fire," Olivia reported urgently. "Wilson, give them cover," Grant ordered. The Defiant unleashed a barrage that forced the attacking vessels to scatter. The shuttle slipped through the gap and headed toward the safety of the warship. On the view screen, Zex appeared again, his silver-blue face now darkened with fury. "You cannot win against our numbers. We will take your ship and add it to our fleet." Grant ignored him, focusing instead on the battle. "Wells, are you still receiving data from your devices on the station?" Wells nodded. "Yes, Captain. I placed sensors before we were captured. The station's main reactor is here." She highlighted a section on the display. "Could a targeted strike disable their power without destroying the station?" Wells calculated quickly. "Yes, a precision hit could create a temporary overload. It would shut down their systems for approximately 3 minutes." "That's our window," Grant decided. "Wilson, prepare the shot. Clark, plot a course to retrieve our shuttle and then break away from the station. Cole, all power to engines after the shot is fired." The crew worked in perfect coordination as the battle raged around them. The shuttle reached the safety of the Defiant's landing bay just as Wilson fired the perfect shot at the station's power core. The effect was immediate. The station went dark, and the coordinated attacks from the pirate fleet faltered as they lost guidance from their command center. "Full power to engines," Grant ordered. "Let's show them what real speed looks like." The Defiant surged forward with astonishing speed, breaking through the disorganized pirate formation. Several vessels attempted to give chase, but their engines couldn't match the human warship's capabilities. "We've cleared their immediate attack range," Clark reported, her fingers still dancing across the navigation controls. "Excellent," Grant nodded. "Now let's turn the tables." The Defiant executed a perfect loop maneuver, coming around to face the scattered pirate fleet. The pirates were still struggling to regroup after their failed attack. "Station power is coming back online," Wells announced. "They'll have control systems again in approximately 40 seconds. Grant studied the tactical display. Cole, what's the status of that gravitational field manipulation system you've been working on? Engineer Cole looked up in surprise. The G-field. It's experimental, sir. We've never tested it in combat. Is it operational? Cole nodded hesitantly. Technically, yes. It should create a localized gravity well, but the effects could be unpredictable. That's exactly what we need, Grant said. Target the center of their formation. As the pirate ships began to regroup, Cole activated the experimental system. A strange ripple appeared in space between the pirate vessels. Suddenly, the ships closest to the center began to drift inward, pulled by an invisible force. It's working, Cole exclaimed. The gravity well is forming. The pirates tried to escape the pull, but their engines couldn't generate enough thrust. 5 ships were now trapped, being drawn inexorably toward each other. On the view screen, Zex's face appeared again, now showing clear fear. What sorcery is this? Release our ships immediately. That's not sorcery, Administrator, Grant replied calmly. It's science, something you might have learned if you'd spent more time on advancement and less on piracy. The trapped ships were now dangerously close to colliding. At the last moment, Grant nodded to Cole. Deactivate the gravity well. The invisible force disappeared, leaving the 5 ships drifting helplessly, their engines overheated from trying to escape, and their hulls scratched and dented from nearly colliding. Olivia, Grant called. Broadcast on all frequencies, including to nearby systems. Olivia prepared the communications array. Ready, sir. Attention all vessels and planets in this sector. This is Captain Lucas Grant of the Earth vessel Defiant. We have discovered that the group calling themselves the Vexari Collective are not legitimate authorities, but pirates who have been terrorizing this region. We have freed their prisoners and are now neutralizing their threat. Any ships or settlements that have suffered from their attacks are welcome to contact us. Almost immediately, responses began flooding in. Voices in different languages, all translated by Olivia's systems, shared stories of Vexari attacks, stolen cargo, and kidnapped crew members. Send them the evidence Wells collected on the station, Grant ordered. Let everyone see what these pirates have been doing. The remaining pirate ships that weren't trapped by the gravity well experiment were now facing a difficult decision. Several began to turn away, clearly intending to flee. Sir, Wilson reported, 3 of the pirate vessels are powering down weapons. They appear to be surrendering. On the main pirate vessel, chaos erupted behind Zex as his crew began arguing loudly. One officer stepped forward, shoving Zex aside. Human vessel, the new Vexari said, I am second Commander Vrel. There is disagreement among our ranks about continuing this battle. Many of us were not aware of the extent of our leader's crimes. Grant raised an eyebrow. A mutiny, Commander Vrel. A correction of leadership, Vrel replied carefully. Zex promised us profit and glory. Not a war we cannot win against superior forces. Grant looked around his bridge, seeing his crew's satisfied expressions. The tide had turned. The pirates' unified front was crumbling from within, their own crews realizing they had been led into a disastrous confrontation. Tell me, Commander Vrel, Grant said, leaning forward in his chair, are you prepared to discuss terms of surrender now? Commander Vrel's face showed a mixture of resignation and relief on the view screen. Yes, Captain Grant. We are prepared to discuss terms. Behind Vrel, Zex was being restrained by his own crew members, shouting threats that went unheeded. The former pirate leader's authority had completely collapsed. These are my conditions, Grant said firmly. First, all captives must be released immediately. Second, all stolen property must be cataloged and arrangements made for its return. Third, your weapon systems will be disabled until a proper authority in this sector can determine your fate. Vrel hesitated only briefly before nodding. These terms are acceptable, given the circumstances. Over the next several hours, the Defiant oversaw the surrender of the entire pirate fleet. Teams led by Martinez and Blackwood boarded the main pirate vessels to ensure compliance. The remaining prisoners were freed, many of them weak from long confinement, but overjoyed at their unexpected rescue. In the Defiance medical bay, Dr. Alan Frost treated injured aliens of various species. The universal translator worked overtime as grateful beings tried to express their thanks. Captain, Olivia called from her communication station on the bridge. We're receiving transmissions from 3 different planetary systems. They're sending ships to assist with the cleanup operation. Grant nodded with satisfaction. Good. The sooner we can hand this matter over to local authorities, the sooner we can continue our mission. Krell, the green-skinned Trizarian who had helped during the escape, approached Grant on the bridge. He bowed deeply, his large eyes blinking with emotion. Captain of humans, he said in his improving English, my people have suffered under Vexari raids for 2 cycles. Many thought no one would help us. You have changed everything. We couldn't stand by while innocents were being harmed. Grant replied simply. The other species are talking, Krell continued. They wish to form an alliance for protection. Would Earth join such an alliance? Grant smiled. That's exactly the kind of diplomacy we came here to establish. I'll contact our headquarters and recommend it strongly. 3 days later, representatives from 7 different species gathered in the Defiance conference room. Some had traveled from nearby systems after hearing about the defeat of the pirates who had terrorized their shipping lanes for years. This alliance must be built on mutual respect and cooperation, Grant told the assembled beings. Earth doesn't seek to dominate, only to partner with you all. An elegant crystalline being that communicated through light patterns flashed a series of colors that the translator interpreted as, the humans have proven themselves not just technologically advanced, but morally worthy. We would be honored to ally with them. As the conference continued, Engineer Cole approached Grant quietly. Captain, word of what happened here is spreading fast. The Defiant is becoming something of a legend already. Grant chuckled. Not exactly the quiet diplomatic mission we planned. No, sir, Cole agreed with a smile, but perhaps more effective. Later, as the Defiant prepared to depart, a small fleet of ships from the newly formed alliance escorted them to the edge of the sector. It was both an honor guard and a demonstration of their new friendship. On the bridge, Grant looked at his crew with pride. Set course for our next destination, Navigator Clark. Our mission continues. Course laid in, Captain, Clark replied. The Malin system, as scheduled. Proceed at cruising speed, Grant ordered. As the Defiant moved gracefully away from the escort fleet, Wells turned to the captain. Do you think the pirates learned their lessons? Sir. Grant watched the stars stretch into streams of light as they entered faster than light travel. I believe they did, Lieutenant. And more importantly, so did everyone else in this sector. The message would spread throughout the stars. Humans came in peace, extended friendship to those who desired it, but possessed both the ability and the will to fight when necessary. And those who threatened innocent lives would find that human warships delivered lessons not easily forgotten.